What's up guys, my name is Ace, and today we're going to be looking at the hardcore game mode. I realize a lot of you guys that watch me are really into hardcore this time around with Black Ops 4. And what we're going to be doing is breaking down all of the ranges for every gun in hardcore currently. And we'll be trying to answer the question, what is the best gun in hardcore? Or maybe what are the top 3 best guns in the hardcore game modes? So let's hop into the ranges for all of the guns in the game within hardcore game modes. A couple things to keep in mind when I say it's a one-shot kill. This assumes a few things. First off, you aren't shooting through some form of cover, which will reduce your bullet damage. The enemy doesn't have armor equipped. And finally, the enemy doesn't have boosted health from Crash's TAC 5 ability. So if you're looking at these charts and you're thinking, no, that's not true, I got a hit marker within a range where he said it's a one-shot kill, it's almost definitely going to be one of those 3 reasons as to why you got that hit marker. So let's start off with the guns that have the lowest ranges within hardcore, and then we'll move into the ones that have the much better ranges, or in many cases, an infinite one-shot kill potential. So first we have these shotguns. Currently in the game, we have the MOG 12 and the SG 12, and with the shotguns in this game, we have a base damage value, which means even if you hit just one pellet, you will be dealing a certain amount of base damage, and for both of these guns, that base damage is above the 28 health that we have in hardcore, and therefore, these shotguns are always a one-hit kill within the ranges where they're able to get a hit, which is approximately 15 meters. Keep in mind, this will also apply if you're running the long barrel attachment, which will extend that range by a few meters. But just keep in mind, beyond that range where you're able to get a hit marker, you literally can't deal any damage whatsoever with the shotguns. This brings us to the SMG category, and as you can see here, the MX9 has the best one-shot kill potential at 25 meters, and this is actually quite good, so the MX9 is a very solid choice for hardcore. And we see a similar story with the GKS. The GKS has a one-shot kill range of about 20 meters, which again is very respectable, especially considering the fact that the GKS is extremely accurate. Then for the Spitfire, we have a very short one-shot kill range, and this is just due to the fact that it has such an insane rate of fire that generally hitting 2 shots to kill isn't going to be an issue for you within hardcore. With the Cordite, not a bad one-shot kill range at about 15 meters or so definitely not a terrible choice to use the Cordite within hardcore. And finally, we have the SOG 9mm, which has a one-shot kill range of about 10 meters, which isn't really all that great, but at the same time, it has a decent rate of fire, and therefore, it's relatively forgiving. As for suppressor on the SMGs, this will reduce your ranges by about 20%. And with long barrel, which you can use on the MX9, the GKS, as well as the Cordite, this will now increase your one-shot kill potential in hardcore modes by 60%. So quite a big increase to your one-shot kill ranges, which is excellent to see. And this is something that's actually relatively new. When the game first launched, long barrel didn't help you at all on SMGs in hardcore, but now it does. Out of all of the SMGs, the one that feels the best to me in hardcore though is definitely the GKS. This just has to do with the fact that it's extremely accurate, it's got a very solid one-shot kill potential, and you can increase that one-shot kill potential with long barrel as well, which is great. And also, since you get the handling of an SMG, this is just a great all-around gun for hardcore modes. Moving on to the next category, we have the pistols, which actually have much better range values on average than the SMGs when it comes to hardcore modes. First up, we have the Strife, and the Strife is incredibly powerful in hardcore. It has a one-shot kill that extends out to 37.5 meters. Plus, it's got the insane handling stats of a pistol, so your aim down sight and sprint out times are super fast with this. It's very accurate, so you can pick people off quite easily with it. And it's a semi-auto with a half-decent magazine capacity, so it's relatively forgiving as well. And as a result, the Strife, in my opinion, is actually one of the better guns to use in hardcore modes. As for the RK7, this is a 3-round burst, and it only has a 1-bullet kill potential of 12.5 meters, which is relatively low, but when you consider the fact that you're firing 3 rounds at once, generally you're still going to be getting your 1-burst kill very consistently with this gun, even at longer ranges, because it's not like it has a ridiculous amount of recoil. So the RK7's range is maybe a little bit deceiving. It is better than it looks in hardcore, just based on the range value here. But keep in mind, if you're just landing that first shot and then the other 2 miss, you will be getting relatively consistent hit markers with this gun. And finally, for the pistol category, we have the Mozu, which has an infinite one-shot kill range. However, it's not quite as versatile as the Strife. So even though its one-shot kill range is better, I still would prefer using the Strife in hardcore because the reload time's much better on the Strife, you got a bigger magazine with the Strife, and less recoil with the Strife. And this is why I tend to think that the Mozu isn't really the best gun in hardcore, although it is a very solid choice if you're consistently hitting that one shot. Once again, with suppressor, which we can use on the Strife and the RK7, this will reduce your ranges by about 20%, so not a massive reduction. Whereas long barrel, which can be used on the Strife as well as the Mozu, long barrel's useless on the Mozu because it's always a one-shot kill. But for the Strife, it will only increase your ranges it will only increase your one-shot kill range by 25%. This brings us to the assault rifle category, and as you can see here, the ICR has a great one-shot kill range at 50 meters, which is going to be the vast majority of the gunfights that you'll find within this game. The Rampart has an infinite one-shot kill range, again, assuming they don't have armor, they don't have their health boosted by crash, or you're not shooting through something. The Can 57 also has a very solid one-shot kill range at about 43 to 45 meters. The Vapor has an okay one-shot kill range at 30 meters, so it's not really great by any means when compared to the other assault rifles, but it's not the worst in the assault rifle category. And finally, we have the Maddox, which isn't all that great within hardcore modes because its one-shot kill potential is only about 19 meters. As for the suppressor on the assault rifles that are able to use a suppressor, this will reduce all of your ranges by roughly 20%, whereas long barrel, when available, will literally double these ranges. So overall with assault rifles, if I had to choose, I would likely pick the ICR as the best assault rifle in hardcore modes, mainly just due to the fact that it's extremely accurate and versatile. But having said that, you really can't go wrong with any of the assault rifles in this game, aside from the Maddox. The Maddox really isn't that great in hardcore. Of course it's usable because anything is usable in hardcore modes, but when you compare it to the other assault rifles, it just doesn't hold up. Moving into the tactical rifles, the Auger is always going to be a one-shot kill at any range. And I also wanted to point out with the Auger, from 0 to 15 meters, the maximum damage is so high that even if the enemies have armor, it will still be a one-shot kill without the FMJ attachment. Beyond 15 meters though, if the enemy has armor and you're not using FMJ, it will end up being a 2-shot kill against them. As for the ABR, this is a 3-round burst, but even just hitting one single bullet within the burst will be a one-shot kill at any range in the game, which is very good because you don't even have to be particularly accurate, I find, with this. You just have to kind of point and shoot in the general direction, and even if you miss that first bullet, a lot of times one of the other bullets within the burst will end up connecting. And this means the ABR is quite a good gun to use in hardcore modes. And finally, we have the Swordfish, which has an extremely respectable one-shot kill range at 50 meters. However, it will technically drop off to a 2-shot kill beyond 50 meters. But once again, it's a burst rifle and it's extremely accurate within the burst. So if you're hitting the first bullet and you're aimed down sight, the chances of you missing all 3 of the next bullets within your burst are slim to none. So realistically speaking, it's still always going to be a 1-burst kill as long as you're aiming down sight. But technically, it will be taking 2 of those bullets within a burst beyond 50 meters. So for tactical rifles in hardcore modes, you really can't go wrong with any of them. I actually think the Auger is the best sniper rifle in the game in hardcore. However, if I had to choose out of all of these as far as the most versatile one, I would go with the ABR. The ABR is great in hardcore modes, and I've found quite a bit of success with it. So finally, this brings us into the LMG category, and all of the LMGs will be a one-shot kill at any range that you'll be able to realistically find within this game. However, there is one thing I want to point out with the Hades, and it's actually something I was slightly off on with my gun guide since they made the adjustment to the suppressor quite some time ago. I didn't pick up on this initially. When you put a suppressor on the Hades, it will actually give you a drop-off point to a 2-shot kill at about 35 meters. So suppressor is still a very viable attachment on the Hades within hardcore. Just keep in mind, beyond 35 meters, it will take you 2 shots to kill. Out of these 3 guns though, I would say the VKM is not going to be the greatest choice for hardcore simply because it has a relatively slow rate of fire, and therefore if you miss your first shot, it's not quite as forgiving as the Hades for instance, which has a very good fire rate. And as a result, out of all of the LMGs, I would say the Hades is definitely your best bet within hardcore, simply because it's the most forgiving. You can miss a couple shots and still be able to land that 1 bullet that you need to get the kill. That's not to say that the Titan is a bad choice in hardcore. The Titan, I would say, is a good choice, but generally I would lean away from the VKM within hardcore. So those are all of the one-shot kill ranges that I have for every one of the guns in the game currently. Of course, keep in mind this is subject to change, and I will try to leave updates with a pinned comment down below when any of these ranges change for you. But as it stands right now, these are your one-shot kill ranges within hardcore. Now, after looking at all of these, I would say pretty much any gun is viable within hardcore game modes, but of course, some are going to be better than others. And I decided to pick out my top 3 based on these ranges, as well as a bunch of their other stats like handling, mobility, rate of fire, accuracy. When you combine all of those things together, the 3 best guns currently in hardcore game modes, in my opinion, are going to be the ICR, the Hades, and the GKS. All of these guns are really accurate. They have a decent enough rate of fire to where if you miss your first shot, the second shot is coming up right away anyways. They've got a solid one-shot kill potential for their respective handling stats. And overall, just based on my experience with the guns in hardcore modes, these are the 3 that I tend to do the best with. Of course, I'd like to know in the comment section below, what are your favorite guns to use in hardcore game modes? Are they one of the top 3 that I mentioned, or is it something that isn't in my top 3? Let me know in the comment section down below. If you enjoyed the video, a like rating is always appreciated, and don't forget to subscribe for more if you haven't already. I'll talk to you guys next time.